Okay, so if we're talking about cool building elements and what draws us to historic architecture, I'm curious. We've been through a lot of old buildings. If you can think for a minute about like something that stood out to you about a place, any building that it was like, wow, that's either like super intricate or kind of just like unique or different from a lot of other places you've been in. You know, there's some places we've been to where it's like, yep, repeating element, this is the structure type, that they usually did it this way, so that makes sense. And then every once in a while you go through a place and you're like, what is happening here? That's a new one.
Well, I'll start. We recently went through a couple of buildings close to here. I can't say too much. It's a secret. But oftentimes you'll see hardware on doors as a decorative element, and you'll miss it if you don't look for it. So if you're in a place that has maybe more of a finished look, there's, it's a period of, say, the late 1800s, early 1900s. If you look at the door hinges, the door latches, a lot of times they are just buried with this beautiful detail. And obviously that's not something we're replicating now, but
like you don't even see it when the door is shut.
Right.
But when it's open and you can see that hinge.
This tiny little thing. Yeah. That, and then another building we went through recently had a very interesting structural system. And after we did some research, found out that the structural system was a leftover of an industry in that area, and that's why it was used. There again, going back to the whole story of this tiny little area of a town, and things that you might question, but once you dive into the history of it, you're like, oh, wait a second, now this is amazing. Like, why in the world were they using these structural beams and this capacity? It doesn't math, right? But
they were leftovers.
They were leftovers. They had all these leftovers.
Had this material, we had to use it.
Yeah. So that's the stuff that I love.
Those are the ones where I wonder if the guys installing it were like,
why are we doing this?
This is not what this is for.
Yeah.
But it'll work.
It did.
Aaron, what's a weird thing you have seen?
I think of some of the comical ones where it's like you see old buildings from the mid 1800s retrofit with bathrooms in weird places.
Yeah. Like up on a pedestal?
Like up on a pedestal.
Where the door is carved out of the toilet hole.
Yeah. Or the toilet is nearly touching the glass of a window.
Yes.
Or the toilet is down in the basement in the far back corner. There's some strange ones there, but those are the more comical ones.
We actually had a whole calendar about those.
Yeah.
If you'll recall, a couple years back, there was enough funny and funky little toilets that we've come across in our journeys that we made a whole calendar.
We could have made a whole series of calendars off of that. With my background in carpentry, I often look for, I will say that the door hardware is something that I have, I guess not just door hardware, but hardware in general has been something that I've appreciated a lot in the last, I would say, 5 years. Because it's, one, we don't get to do that.
No.
And two, you get to see some of those oddities, like, oh, this owner was obsessed with daisies. Why? No idea, but love daisies.
And then
they're
if you look
everywhere.
closer, sometimes like they're in calligraphy is the initial of the owner or that place or whatever it might be.
Little Easter eggs everywhere.
Yes. Yep.
But aside from that, my background in carpentry, I often go to the details of finish work, the moldings and the even the windows. Honestly, some of the details around the windows, it's just interesting to see the different, again, there's a lot of repeated elements, but you can kind of see the signature of, not that I know who the carpenter was, but you can see that everybody does things ever so slightly differently, and the differences are kind of fun. And then there's the really odd ones. A couple of buildings that I think of in particular. There's one in Monroe, but it's not nearly as cool as the one in Wheaton that I'm thinking of. It was the space left over between two buildings. That may have been an alley at one point. I don't actually know. But in Wheaton, it's the popcorn shop, and it's literally 5 feet wide. From brick to brick, inside is 5 feet. And so they have shelves on one side full of candy and other things, and you walk. So at the back of the building is the well, I say back, it's not that deep, but is the counter, and so you have to like shimmy by people to get into it. But everybody knows the popcorn shop. I hope it's still open. I haven't been down there in a while. But in Monroe, there's one that's probably 10 feet wide, but it's an accountant's office. So no offense to the accountant, it's just not nearly as interesting. But
You're not coming every day.
I like those oddities, the little random buildings. There's the Spite House in Alexandria, Virginia. That's very similar.
Yep.
It's just funny.
Shoehorned
stuff.
It right in there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't build there. Watch me.
I bet you I can. I know we talk a lot about historic buildings as well. We like to do puzzles here in our office. There's usually one on the break table just when you need like a little mind cleanser. But historic buildings are also like puzzles.
Very much.
And I'm curious if you have like a story of one of your more difficult puzzles to solve. Like how do we make this work for modern times? We've got all these new requirements that they didn't have when they built it, whether it's for sprinklers or 2 stairs for egress, or how do you get an elevator in there?
I was going to say, I think most of ours, or the biggest one often is accessibility, because buildings were so often not built at the same level.
Right.
I mean, we joke internally, and I joke with clients that it's not a project of ours if there's not like 6 levels for every 3 floors. It's got to be, how many levels are in this building?
Oh, Lordy.
There's like 12 levels.
At least, yeah. Or there were at some point before we sort of leveled the floors,
And there are 8 floors?
Well, Woodstock, courthouse.
Yeah, Woodstock was a big one.
I mean, how many levels in there? You guys
There were 6 levels and 3 floors.
Yeah, insane. With an elevator that hit every one of them front to back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the more complex ones, I think. It's when you're combining, when you're trying to make access to everything, but originally it depended on stairs.
Right.
And
absolutely.
Well,
and going back to, I think, episode 1, you mentioned the challenge with churches. And what was your other one?
Theaters.
Theaters, yeah. Those are always a challenge.
With the slope floor.
Slope floors, or, we did an amazing project.
Sounds like us.
Yeah. But we, down in Rochelle, there was an old theater, and the owners wanted to turn it into a distillery. And with their vision, we were able to pull off this amazing like tasting room, which was the old, balcony.
Like the projector room.
Yeah. And we took all of that down, took all of that concrete out, and put up a little bit of a glass wall, and now you're looking down into the floor of the distillery while still maintaining a lot of those like decorative plaster elements from the old theater. So yeah, things like that. Yeah, they're puzzles 100%. And I think maybe that's what I love about it. I'm a little bit lost with new construction sometimes because I've got too many
options.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want. What's happening here?
Give me some limitations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me some walls I can't move.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Or if I have to put an opening in it, I'm going to have to design something massive to hold it up. Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Yeah. The puzzles are fun. I think it's created, the results are more interesting in that way too, because you end up with we always say, it's not a problem, it's an opportunity. There's lots of opportunities with old buildings.
Yeah.
There's lots of opportunities.
I know we go through other buildings too, projects that aren't ours, but they're cool old buildings. And when we're together, we are always looking for I wonder how they did this or how they did that. And or if there's something that pops up, like, I wonder why they did that. And then like you keep walking, you're like, oh, that's
There
why.
it is. There
That's
it
why
is.
they couldn't. Yep. There it is.
There's the reason.
Or when we're going through an old building and we have an opportunity to peel off like an old wood paneling, and behind it is, you know, some sort of treasure of old windows or transom or, you know, prism glass, or
Pull up a corner of the carpet and find a penny tile or some
Yeah.
sort of other beautiful floor.
yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. Maybe penny tile. We don't do tile the same way that we used to.
Not individual.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be laid individually. Now it's kind of like if you order tile,
it.
it's like a sheet
Yep.
that fits together. And the charming thing about penny tile is like those little differences in spacing between them is like
The signs of humanity.
signs of humanity and charming. But like if you have a sheet that doesn't quite line up,
Stands
It's
out like a sore thumb.
enraging.
Yes.
It's like, this is no longer cute.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's very obvious where those sheets end, you
It's
know,
true.
the
Yeah.
limitations.
It is true. Yeah, materials have changed a little bit, and matching or speaking the same language with materials now is a little bit more. It can be a little bit challenging, but it's doable. But it is fun to be able to use. And I say use because we're not doing anything with them. We, you know, the joke there. In many ways, we just have to not mess things up, rather than start over. Sometimes, you know, I've joked with some of our younger staff that don't necessarily have a training in traditional architecture that we've been able to do some really cool things, even though you don't necessarily know why those profiles look the way they do or why this is the way it is, because really our job is just to not screw it up. We don't have to create it, just don't mess it up. So
Which is kind of like almost the opposite philosophy with planning. Everyone in planning always jokes like, our job is just to fix the mistakes that happened in the past. But I guess that's kind of the glass half empty view, because you know, there was a lot of good things that happened in the past and things were done for a reason, and like there's a lot of good that happened there too. But over time you can see we're like, well, that experiment didn't quite work out.
Choose your era of significance.
Yeah. Like,
Speaking of that, the era of significance is changing. We're about to see some, 50s, 60s, 70s.
It would be
Are we close to 80s?
We're close to 80s.
we're like,
That's-
75. So with
50 years
historic
back.
buildings, you know, for it to be eligible for listing on National Register, it has to be at least 50 years old. So we're getting into the era now where 1975 is historic. Which there's some weird stuff that happened then.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of the beginning of this experimental, you know, faux materials too.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, that old school wood paneling that was super thin and like made of, I don't know what, but wasn't much, you know, cereal. I don't know.
It's just a cereal box.
Oh yes, the character of old buildings is always interesting. What about some of the things character-wise? You know, one of the critiques of old buildings is they're noisy, they are imperfect, they are whatever. You know, I can go down the list. I wouldn't want to live in an apartment that's not. People like new things because they're clean, they are quiet, they are perfect, they're square, they're whatever. What are both of your thoughts on the quirkiness of old buildings?
Love to see it.
Love to see.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that I've ever lived in a new building or a new apartment or anything.
Yeah.
Everything's been old and old and beautiful, really.
The imperfections are sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, if the stairs creak on the way up, that's just the way it is.
If they don't yet, they will eventually.
Yeah. Don't you feel like you could go to like your childhood house and you would like almost remember the cadence of the squeaks in the stairs? It's like you knew where someone was at in the stair run based on what squeaked where.
You can usually identify which person it was too.
Yeah, the weight of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like those buildings were new at some point too, right?
Sure.
But the things that we have now with them is like, the quirks that you see through either the craftsmanship or people who lived there over time, or like, you know, the building in Aurora, the Hobbs building. on the columns they're wrapped. There was like a sporting goods store there for a really long time. And so there's like stickers from that era. And I mean, those aren't necessarily quote unquote historic, but it just shows how people lived in it or like used the space.
Story of the building still, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
There's a common theme in our conversations, it seems, and that is the imperfections, or what we would see as imperfections, what most people would see as perfection is doing the same thing over and over again without being able to identify the difference between, or something like that, right? You know, like this brick is identical to every other brick. It is laid the exact same way with the same mortar bed, the same distance. Everything is the same. And there seems to be the same thing with tile. It is exactly laid perfectly every time. But that is also strangely the thing that draws us to a lot of the older structures, or what is the word I'm trying to think of? Endears us to older structures, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, there's like a charm with it, you know, that
there's a charm. There's also a headache in construction. You know,
true.
Sometimes I think it's a bit challenging for contractors who are, you know, probably, I guess, they've learned how to do a certain thing, and you know, you have control points in your building, and you build off those control points. But what if your building is not plumb, square, nothing?
Thinking of one in particular where one wing was at 3/4 of a degree off, which accounted for like 1.5 feet of difference.
Does, yeah. I mean, and that accounts for real money, because now you've got a couple extra yards of, say, carpet tile that you didn't have initially. And those are, character is beautiful, but it does pose a challenge at times.
That's why, I mean, I think for us, it's like you keep the charm is the thing that kind of keeps you going when you have to work through all of those hard things through construction. And it always works better when the other people on the team feel like have the same passion for it. 'Cause, you know, if maybe the contractor isn't used to working with old buildings, or is like frustrated by that more than if they really, you know, wanted to see the building renovated, then it can be super frustrating for them. Understandably so.
Yeah. I mean, clients as well. We always tell clients going in, like, be prepared, you know, have a contingency plan, because something is going to come up.
How much do you tell clients percentage of contingency compared to the estimated construction cost?
You know, it of course depends on what you're starting with. If it's just a gutted building, it's one thing, or if it's a building with a lot of stuff in it, that's a whole nother thing. But I would say anywhere between 10 and 20% easy.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, hey, you're going to change your mind.
Yeah, and
guaranteed.
Don't assume that you're not going to spend the contingency. Assume that you will spend it.
Yes.
You just don't know what it's for yet.
Exactly. Yeah. But, you know, most of our clients coming out of these experiences, or after they've completed a project, everybody always says, I'm so glad I did this. You know, I'm glad I saved the building. I'm glad we did it in this manner. So it might be a little painful, but at the end of the day, I think most everybody's happy with the outcome.
Yeah. And there's definitely the ebbs and flows in a project of like, the excitement is waning, you know, when you're deep in the paperwork, or you're, you know, working through a lot of legal documents, all of that sort of thing. And you just got to eye on the prize, trying to restore this building to, or, you know, or new construction too, but keeping the end goal in mind, because there are some parts that are less fun than others.
That's right.